Hi again, everyone. So, this week we are moving into Chapter 5 here, where what we're going to be doing is developing a further understanding of the trigonometric functions as more algebraic objects, if you will. Starting in 5.1, we're going to look at the process of what's called verifying identities, where the idea here is to take things that we know about trig functions, or at the very least things that we're a little bit more confident in right now, hopefully, after having done Chapter 4, things like the reciprocal relationships, and if we're feeling really confident, the Pythagorean identities, and be able to use those in concert with some special circumstances to develop some new relationships that we can count on to get more of an idea of how the trig functions interact. Where from there, we're going to talk about some more special ones that we know well and we can define, maybe not easily, but fairly directly, starting in 5.2, where we're talking about taking sums of angles. So we're looking at the sum and difference formulas for trig functions. What happens when we have something like sine of alpha plus beta, two angles in there, or cosine of alpha minus beta with two angles on the inside there, and how that gets rearranged in terms of the trigonometric values. And then finally, in 5.3, we're going to be looking at things with more of a multiplicative flavor to them, things like the double angle formulas, the half angle formulas, and the power reducing formulas for taking larger powers of our trig functions and splitting them up into more manageable parts. Because sometimes we have things where the pieces are close to values we know and understand, but need to be rearranged. They need to be replaced, moved a little bit, and shifted to better fit patterns that we can more easily compute. Anyway, from here, we have a very normal set of materials for the week, starting with a worksheet. It's going to be due Friday for some more practice with this stuff. This does take a lot of practice to get comfortable with. It's very abstract relative to some of the things we were doing in Chapter 4, which are more direct, even though that probably still feels weird to think about because of how new some of these things are for you guys. And then from there, because we're finishing up Chapter 5 next week, that's going to be the end of our second unit, so expect to hear more from me about the second exam soon, but we have deadlines in my lab for Chapters 4 and 5 next week. So keep that in mind, and then we're going to have a pre-assessment moving into week 7, which, as usual, is going to focus on what we need to see for that review for the exam. Hopefully we'll have plenty of time to get started onto our last couple of sections, or last section really, 5.5, before we get to week 7, so we can spend as much time as possible reviewing, because I know a lot of people are going to have a lot of questions, a lot of things you're going to want to go back over to make sure you really understand what's going on here. But before that, let's move in to Chapter 5.